Welcome to Tawlet El Sifra, Common Ground, Dinner Table. Today I want to talk to you about how people can destroy their own families, and this family dynamics is just so destructive to a lot of people, to a lot of families. One of the families that I'm talking about is one that everybody talks about being one of the best families. They're very good people. They get along. They're loving. They're caring. They're whatever. All of the wonderful things, all the descriptions of a great family is related to this family. But lately, they have some people inside that family that are destroying the family. They're very narcissistic personalities, and they don't care to destroy and hurt their own family. They don't care to hurt the family they belong to. They don't care to hurt parents, siblings, aunts, uncles, everything, just so they can achieve the power that they want to feel. They have this thing inside them that makes them think, okay, well, I am more powerful than everybody in here, so therefore whatever I say goes. And that's very, very typical of a narcissist. Now, I am not a doctor in narcissist, but I have studied a lot. I have gone through a lot of courses and I've studied a lot, but I don't have a PhD in that. But I'm going to tell you that this person I'm talking about is definitely got every characteristics of a narcissist. The reason I'm saying this in the English version of the channel, I usually talk about that only in the Arabic side, because I think that the Arabic world has a lot more narcissists than the American or the English side of the world. And I always try to preach to them how to not allow that to happen. But in this case, I think it's very important to share it on both languages. And that's because when we see these kind of things, we got to step back and realize that we must fix this. So let's assume that this person is part of my family. Let's assume that it's my own kid that's doing this. I cannot to just appease my son just because I love my son. I'm gonna just say everything that my son says or does is right, and I'm gonna do for my son everything he wants. That gives my son all the power and to make him worse as a narcissist. Instead, what I should do is, whenever I see him doing something completely outrageous and wrong, is not to immediately combat him and talk to him and say, no, I'm not going to do that, because all that's going to do is come back at me and make me feel, and we're like fighting with each other. Instead, what we should do is allow that person to calm down, to make his demands or her demand, the outrageous demand that they want. And then when there is the right moment, is to sit with him and say, now, let's assume that what you said is what we're gonna do. Let's assume that we're gonna go home and we're gonna kick your brother out of the house. Let's say what you wanted, we're gonna give that to you. Okay, where is your brother gonna go? I don't care. Okay, what's my responsibility as a parent with the brother? I don't care. I just want him out. I don't want to see him. Okay, how about if we do something else to make you not see your brother, but in a different way? Instead of kicking your brother out, let's see if we can work with your brother to you and him not in the same room at the same time, and we'll work with that first. Let's assume no. The more we give them, the more they're going to ask. So if we start with this personality, if we start with this person when they are much younger, and we're talking to them on this level, your brother is at home, we can't kick him out, let's have him in a different room, let's do that. If this person, if the kid that's narcissist or has tendencies of being a narcissist, if they're at the level of maybe 10 to 12 years old, something like that, then we can work with that and mold him and change things, and he might be more accepting to the fact, okay, we're going to separate you in different rooms and you're not going to see each other. One day, someday, the narcissist kid is going to miss the brother and want to see, because they're going to forget that they did that. That's another characteristic of narcissistic people, is if you don't push that issue much, if you just let it ride, just let it go away, then they're gonna, like, it's gonna diminish. So that kid is going to want to be with his brother at some point. So we solve that way. If this kid, we keep feeding the beast and give them more and more things that they want and they ask for and they demand, just so, because we're afraid, we just want to give them what they want, and we give them all of that stuff. So then they get to where they're 18 or to 20, they have a much stronger personality and they have a much bigger demands, and it could very well be unrealistic demands, but they are demands, and they, at that point, they feel like they have more control. And because we've given them more and more of what they wanted all these years, so now saying no to them is a lot more hard. It's just very difficult. So we get to that point, and what we do is we can't just say, no, I'm not going to do that, or whatever the negative, the turning down is. What we should do in those situations is we should, again, when they're calm and not in their, crazy mood, is sit them down and talk. Look, you don't want to see your brother, and I'm fine with that. You don't have to see your brother. You live here and he lives there. Of course, when they're in their 20s, they should not be living in the same house. But if one of them still lives in the house, okay, so we'll arrange for you always know when your brother is home, so you don't come home and you don't come visit us during that time. And we're gonna separate you that way. And if this is gonna last forever, this is how we're gonna do it. I don't want you to see your brother. If you don't want to see your brother, we're not gonna show you your brother. You're not gonna see your brother. And that's how it's gonna go. I want to make sure that you're okay with it, but I am not gonna kick your brother out or not see him or not do this because you don't want to see him. I want to see him. He's my kid too, and he hasn't done anything to me. So if you hate him, don't want to see him for whatever reason, that's up to you. Once they consume that and they accept that, it's not going to be very easy. It's not going to be just, yeah, okay, fine, that kind of thing. But once they get to the level where, okay, well, you're dealing with that bit by bit by bit to where, okay, I'm going to agree to this terminology, to these terms. Then we, again, give it a few days, few weeks, whatever, and then we come back and revisit that and say, okay, now, your issue, the reason that you didn't want to see your brother for this, I have a different take on it. I can see that this is what you want, but I have a different take on it. I don't think that you acted very rational. I don't think that it's the right thing to do. If your brother had made mistakes, you've made mistakes. If your brother had done this, you've done this. I'm okay with you not seeing him. We've agreed to that. But I want you to know that from my perspective, you're not being very rational about it. And he could be very wrong about what he done, but you've been wrong about a lot of things you've done in the past. Your brother had been right about a lot of things. Your brother had been helpful, have been good to you, have been helpful. He did this to you. He was, whatever it is, you and him did get along at some point. You watched movies together, you did that, whatever. But again, if this is the final decision, I'm going to take it. But I want you to know that I have a different take on it. And if it was him that had come to me and said he doesn't want to see you, doesn't want to be in the same room with you, doesn't want you around, whatever, I would do the same thing. I would say, okay, we're not going to do that. You're not going to be in the same room with him. You're not going to be together at all with him. But then I will tell him that the same thing I'm telling you now, that you've been right and you've been wrong, and so has he. So I just want you to know how I see it and what my take on it. I don't think it's the rational thing to do to not see him. But from my perspective, because I agreed to it, this is what I'm going to do. And you wait and see. It'll take, depending on the person, it'll take anything from a couple of weeks to a couple of months. But eventually, that kid who's a narcissist, who's controlling, who thinks that everything he does or says has to be abided by, will come along and little by little, he'll say, for example, you'll say, well, I was having lunch with your brother yesterday or whatever. He'll say, oh, how is he doing? He'll start asking questions about him. And little by little, you'll see that, well, don't come Thanksgiving because your brother is going to be here. Well, it's okay, I'll come. I don't care if I see him or not. That kind of thing will happen. And the family will mesh those ties and be together. It's that type of resolution that needs to happen. There are a lot of parents that don't solve the situation that way. There are a lot of parents that are part of the narcissist society and they're part of the problems. And there are a lot of parents that are so afraid of their kids and they do whatever the kids say and ask for or demand, that they're afraid to do anything otherwise. And that's when the breakdown happens. But if the parents are strong enough personality-wise and talk and make it bits and pieces to where they mend it, then things will be okay. As a parent, that's what I encourage people to do, as any person, not as a parent. If you have a brother who's like that, if you have a sister like that, if you have a parent, you have anything, this is how you fix these issues. It's not about, just pulling the rope on one side or the other, and that's it. You got to make sure that you give the narcissist what they seem to think that they're getting at the moment, but then you talk to them in a rational way, little by little, until you get them to where they're okay and they understand and they go away from that position. That doesn't mean they're not going to come back with another position that's just as bad as the first one, but that's how you handle it. That's why fixing these issues at a younger age is much easier and much better. You erase that personality when you fix it early on. You erase that personality where it's my way or the highway, or I'm going to raise heck and I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. That is gone if you deal with it at a younger age. And I hope that this was helpful, because this is a personal way of dealing with it and not like a book type. This is not a lecture. This is just if a brother or sister or whatever, this is how I talk with everybody that I want to fix problems with. And thank you very much for visiting.